Are you ready to face something that has no name but leaves scars? It's time to discover what lies beyond the light. Only if you are ready to face the deepest horror should you step inside. We're opening doors to a world where every rustle hides a dreadful secret, and every step might be your last. What evil lurks behind these walls? What dark forces awaken in the night's silence? What happens when your deepest fears begin to haunt your consciousness? Leave all hope and comfort behind. Turn on the light if you dare, and be ready to discover what hides in the darkest corners of your fear.
Jimmy is a 30-year-old urban explorer living in a small town that seems to exist in a time capsule. His days blend into one another as he navigates the predictable rhythm of life. He wakes up in a modest apartment cluttered with maps and photographs from his previous explorations. Each morning, he brews a cup of black coffee and scans the local news while listening to the faint hum of traffic outside. His job at a local bookstore allows him to indulge in his love for literature while providing him the financial means to pursue his passion for exploration. As he walks through the town, he often passes by the old library and the quaint cafe where he meets friends on weekends. The townsfolk are friendly but cautious, often exchanging stories about the old haunted house on the outskirts of town. This house has captivated Jimmy's imagination for years. He recalls the first time he heard the legend from an elderly neighbor. She spoke of how time inside the house has come to a halt and how those who dared to enter never returned alive. Intrigued by the mystery, Jimmy finds himself drawn to the tales. Late at night, he researches the house online, combing through articles and forums filled with chilling accounts. Each new detail adds to his unease, the whispers of warnings echoing in his mind. The locals speak of shadows that move independently and whispers that seem to call out to the brave or the foolish. As he learns more, a subtle tension builds within him. Jimmy grapples with a growing fascination and an unsettling fear, torn between his adventurous spirit and the ominous tales that haunt the town's collective memory. As the day of exploration approaches, Jimmy makes the fateful decision to enter the haunted house. It is a choice fueled by a mix of excitement and trepidation. He spends hours researching the house, immersing himself in every chilling detail he can find. Online forums buzz with stories of lost souls and eerie phenomena, each account heightening his sense of both wonder and dread. The thrill of the unknown pulls him in, while a dark cloud of apprehension looms over his thoughts. With his decision made, Jimmy begins gathering equipment for his journey into the unknown. He dusts off his old backpack and fills it with essential gear, a flashlight, extra batteries, a sturdy rope, and a camera to document whatever he might encounter. As he collects these items, he cannot shake the feeling that he is preparing for a battle against unseen forces. Each clink of gear echoes in his mind, amplifying the chill that settles in his bones. Before setting out, he meets with his closest friends at their favorite cafe. They sit around a table, laughter masking the underlying tension. When he shares his plans, the mood shifts. Concern washes over their faces as they voice their worries. They recount the stories they have heard about the house, urging him to reconsider. Their words weigh heavily on him, a mix of love and fear that tugs at his heart. He forces a smile, brushing off their concerns, but inside he feels the mounting pressure of their fears. As the day draws nearer, a sense of dread creeps into his thoughts. Nightmares invade his sleep, filled with visions of dark corridors and shadowy figures. The whispers of the house seem to beckon him, promising secrets and horrors. Each passing hour intensifies his anticipation and anxiety as he stands on the precipice of a reality he can hardly comprehend. Jimmy knows he is stepping into the abyss, and yet he cannot turn back now. Jimmy arrives at the haunted house as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows that dance upon the overgrown path. The air grows thick with an unnatural chill, wrapping around him like a shroud. He hesitates at the threshold, the door hanging ajar as if inviting him into the depths of its secrets. With a deep breath, he steps across the threshold, an unsettling sense of foreboding washing over him. Inside, the atmosphere is suffocating. The air feels dense and cold, a stark contrast to the warmth outside. Dust motes float lazily in the dim light, and the silence is palpable, pressing against his ears. The walls, once vibrant, are now adorned with peeling wallpaper, the patterns barely visible beneath layers of grime. Each step he takes on the creaking floorboards reverberates through the stillness, echoing like a heartbeat in the void. As he ventures deeper into the house, time seems to distort. The ticking of a clock he cannot see echoes in his mind, a relentless reminder that time has stopped here. Shadows flit at the edges of his vision, teasing him with fleeting glimpses of movement. He squints into the dim light, but nothing is there, only the oppressive darkness that seems to breathe around him. In the parlor, an old armchair sits in the center, draped in a threadbare blanket that feels like the remnants of a forgotten past. Jimmy brushes his fingers across its surface, the fabric cold and unyielding. A whisper, soft yet clear, floats through the air, barely audible. It feels like a voice calling from a distance, but he can't decipher the words. A shiver travels down his spine as he turns, half expecting to see someone standing behind him. The room feels alive, vibrating with an unseen energy. With each room he explores, the sensation of being watched intensifies. The corners of his vision dance with movement, shadows morphing into shapes that vanish when he looks directly at them. A chill grips his heart as he realizes he is not alone. The house is a time capsule, frozen in its own eerie reality, and he is now a part of its disturbing narrative. Each breath he takes mingles with the whispers of the past, wrapping around him like an invisible chain, binding him to the horrors that lie within. Jimmy's heart races as he pushes further into the depths of the haunted house. Each creaking floorboard beneath his feet feels like a warning, a reminder that he is trespassing in a realm where time no longer holds sway. As he steps into a narrow hallway, an overwhelming sense of dread washes over him. The walls seem to close in, adorned with faded photographs that capture moments of happiness long lost. But as he peers closer, he notices the faces are scratched, their smiles turn to grimaces, as if they knew the fate that awaited them. The air grows heavier, thick with secrets. He reaches a door at the end of the hall, its surface marred and splintered. With a trembling hand, he pushes it open, revealing a room that is an unsettling echo of reality. Inside, furniture is overturned, remnants of a life abruptly interrupted. A forgotten dinner table is set for a meal that will never be eaten, plates untouched and dust covered. A cold shiver runs down his spine as he realizes these were once the lives of those who vanished without a trace. As he examines the room, Jimmy's eyes catch a glimpse of movement in the corner. He turns quickly, but nothing is there. Doubt creeps into his mind, and he shakes his head, trying to dispel the growing paranoia. He recalls the stories of missing people, the warnings of the townsfolk echoing louder in his mind. The house feels alive, its very walls whispering secrets meant to ensnare him. Desperation mounts as he moves to the window, hoping for a glimpse of the outside world, but finds only a thick veil of darkness. The shadows seem to pulse as if they are breathing, and Jimmy realizes he may have stepped into a trap. Time twists and warps, and he feels a pull towards the center of the house, a magnetic force drawing him deeper into its heart. Ghostly figures flit through his vision, faces twisted in agony, their mouths moving in silent screams. The realization strikes him like a bolt of lightning. He is not just an observer. He is becoming part of their haunting. Each moment spent inside feels like a step closer to losing his grip on reality. The air grows colder, and the whispers turn into anguished cries, resonating with his growing fear. Paranoia takes root in his mind, and he knows he must escape before the house claims him as its next victim. As Jimmy delves deeper into the house, the overwhelming dread begins to coalesce into something tangible. The whispers grow louder, swirling around him like a chilling wind, each syllable laced with despair. It becomes clear that he is not merely exploring a haunted home. He is trespassing into a realm where time is a cruel illusion, a prison that binds the souls of the lost. The air thickens with sorrow, and he feels the weight of countless lives trapped within these walls. In the dim light of the hallway, Jimmy encounters a figure, barely more than a shadow. The apparition flickers in and out of focus, eyes wide with terror. "Help us," it pleads, voice cracking like brittle glass. The figure gestures towards an old door, its wood warped and groaning under the weight of untold stories. Jimmy's heart races as he realizes that this is one of the souls trapped in the house, forever bound to its dark history. He steps closer, the pull of the door undeniable, yet fear roots him to the spot. The spirit's expression twists into a mask of agony as it vanishes, leaving only a lingering chill in the air. Shivers crawl down Jimmy's spine as he approaches the door, compelled by an instinct to understand the house's true nature. With trembling hands, he turns the handle and pushes it open. The room beyond is unlike any he has seen, a nightmarish tableau frozen in time. Broken clocks litter the space, each one stuck at the same hour, their hands eternally immobile. In the center lies a diary, its pages yellowed and frayed. As Jimmy flips through the entries, he uncovers fragmented accounts of those who had entered before him, each tale echoing his own fears. "Time is a thief," one entry reads, "and in this house, it steals your very soul." The horror of realization crashes over him. The power of the house comes from the anguish of the souls it has consumed, a vortex of despair feeding on the living. A sudden chill washes over him, and the shadows coalesce into figures, their anguished faces merging into one another. They plead silently for release, their mouths moving in vain as he struggles to comprehend their plight. Jimmy's breath quickens as he feels the walls closing in, the air heavy with the weight of their suffering. He knows he must escape this living nightmare, but the house's grip tightens, ensnaring him in its web of despair. Time has stopped, and within this cursed abode, he may never leave. As Jimmy stands in the heart of the house, the air thickens with a palpable malevolence. The shadows swirl around him, coalescing into a dark mass that pulsates with a sinister energy. A low, guttural growl emanates from the depths of the darkness, sending a jolt of terror through his body. He realizes this is the source of the house's evil, a malevolent entity that feeds on fear and despair, the architect of the horrors that have ensnared so many before him. Jimmy's heart races as the entity materializes before him, a grotesque figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly hunger. The walls tremble as it lets out a chilling laugh, a sound that resonates with the cries of the lost souls trapped within. "You shouldn't have come here," it hisses, the voice slithering through the air like a serpent. "You are mine now." In that moment, terror paralyzes him, but a flicker of defiance ignites within. He recalls the faces of those trapped, their silent pleas for help echoing in his mind. Gathering every ounce of courage, he grasps the flashlight, its beam cutting through the oppressive gloom. "I won't let you take me!" he shouts, his voice trembling but resolute. The entity lunges at him, a shadowy mass filled with rage and desperation. Jimmy dodges, heart pounding, and stumbles backward. The room warps around him, time collapsing, twisting into a nightmarish loop. He feels the air grow colder, as if the very essence of fear is wrapping around him like a noose. The whispers of the house crescendo, drowning his thoughts. Desperation grips him as he races toward the diary he discovered earlier, hoping to find a clue, a way to resist the darkness. With trembling hands, he flips through the pages, the ink smudged with tears of the past. The last entry catches his eye. To escape the darkness, one must face their own. The realization hits him like a thunderclap. This battle is not just against the entity, but against his own fears. Summoning every ounce of bravery, he turns to face the malevolent figure, heart hammering in his chest. I know your power. You thrive on fear, but I refuse to be a pawn in your game. His words echo through the room, a fierce declaration against the encroaching despair. The entity shrieks, a sound that reverberates through the very fabric of the house. Shadows writhe and twist, and in that moment of confrontation, Jimmy feels a surge of strength coursing through him. He pushes back against the terror, channeling the pain of those lost souls into a fierce determination. Light bursts from the flashlight, illuminating the darkness, and with it, he charges forward, ready to confront the horror head-on. In the climactic moment of confrontation, Jimmy's determination pierces through the veil of despair that enveloped the house. The entity howls, its form flickering as if caught between worlds. But Jimmy stands firm, channeling the collective anguish of the lost souls. The light from his flashlight expands, illuminating the darkness, revealing the twisted faces of those who had been consumed by the house's malevolence. Their eyes flicker with a glimmer of hope, urging him on. As the light intensifies, the malevolent figure recoils, its form dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Yet, just as victory seems within reach, a tremor shakes the foundations of the house. The walls groan, and Jimmy feels the oppressive weight of time pushing against him. In that moment, he realizes the house is not merely a structure, but a sentient entity, a prison designed to trap the living and the dead alike. With a final surge of adrenaline, Jimmy races towards the entrance, the throbbing energy of the house attempting to pull him back. As he crosses the threshold, the air shifts, and he feels a sharp tug on his very essence. The house fights to keep him, to add him to its collection of lost souls. But with one last push fueled by the memories of those who suffered, he breaks free into the night air. Outside, the world feels surreal. The moon casts an eerie glow on the house, which now stands silent and still, as if it has finally exhausted its torment. Jimmy collapses on the grass, gasping for breath, the adrenaline fading into a profound exhaustion. Yet, the victory comes at a cost. He carries with him the weight of the souls he could not save, their whispers echoing in his mind like a haunting lullaby. In the days that follow, Jimmy struggles to reconcile his experience. The shadows of the house linger in his thoughts, and he often finds himself staring into the distance, haunted by the faces he glimpsed. Each night, he dreams of the darkness, feeling the pull of the house, as if it still beckons him to return. The scars of his ordeal manifest physically, a deep fatigue that settles in his bones, reminding him of the fragility of life. Despite his escape, Jimmy knows he is irrevocably changed. The house may have released him, but its grip remains, a constant reminder of the darkness that lies just beyond the veil of reality. The tales of missing souls now weigh heavily on his heart, and he understands the truth. The house where time stopped will always hunger for more. Jimmy thought he was free. The chill of the haunted house still clung to him, a shadow that refused to fade even in the light of day. He returned to his life, yet everything felt different, distorted, as if he had stepped into a parallel world where the familiar became foreign. The whispers of the lost souls haunted his every waking moment, their silent screams a constant reminder of the horrors he had witnessed. At night, he would lie in bed, the darkness pressing against the walls of his room. Sleep eluded him as memories of the house spiraled through his mind, each recollection sharper than the last. He would wake, drenched in sweat, the faces of the tormented souls etched into his thoughts. They were pleading with him, their eyes wide with fear, begging for release. Despite his escape, he felt their anguish wrap around him like a suffocating shroud. As days turned into weeks, Jimmy learned of new disappearances in town, curious souls drawn to the very house that had claimed him. Each story echoed the ones he had heard before, tales of people who sought adventure and found only despair. The townsfolk whispered of a growing darkness, a malevolence that seemed to seep into the fabric of their lives, spreading like a contagion. One evening, while walking past the now silent house, he saw a flicker of movement behind the cracked windows, a fleeting shadow, a chilling reminder of the horror that had once gripped him. A sense of dread washed over him as he realized the house was not finished with him yet. It was waiting, watching, and hungry for more. With a heart heavy with dread, Jimmy turned to leave but felt an icy breath against his neck, a whisper that sent shivers down his spine. "You will return," it promised, echoing in the silence. The thought settled in his mind, an unsettling certainty that the evil was not contained. It lingered, ready to ensnare those who dared to seek the truth. And as he walked away, he could not shake the feeling that the house where time stopped was still alive, still reaching out, still claiming its victims. The horror was far from over.